one of the people that has now showed up in the studio. I'm going to ask you in about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to set the scene beforehand. This brother came to us. I remember going to follow things through the court system and everything like that and how it transpired. And I should say that you can't judge a book by the cover, because this young man opened up a dance school teaching tap dance, different variations of dance to a lot of different people, specializing in everyone from adults to children. And it was during this time period that in Euclid, Ohio, what happened to you, brother? And you can let people know your name.
Hi, everyone. My name is Major Taps. Real name Michael Brown. I'm just gonna be legit. Like when I'm performing entertainment and teaching things of that nature, go by the name of Major Taps. Though I'll have to say, 2012 and 2014 were one of my most horrible years as far as we're going through the situation with the police, especially out in Euclid. I was on probation for a situation that I got involved with an altercation with someone who actually has a son that works in the police force. So you're going to just follow along with me. You see where all this stuff stems from and stuff. So I was on probation, and anyone who ever been on probation on Euclid knows they have they have an institutionalized probation officer over there by the name of Don Dixon. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it out there, Don Dixon. There's no slap of the wrist over there. Even if you provide proper evidence, things of that nature and stuff like this, it's just like you're looked at as a number basically. So that's basically how things go. And usually there are a whole bunch of other court systems as well and stuff. So, but this particular time, I had a warrant, and I was doing my best to get it cleared up. And a particular party who I was involved with, some way, we wouldn't say caught being framed or blackmailed. Long story short, had the police called for a particular another way of trying to blackmail a person. Though police were called, Euclid police were called. Me trying to clear up these warrants and stuff like that. I fled. It was on the chase. It was nothing driving, whether it was on foot. I finally surrendered. Was on the ground complying. Police already had their guns, things of that nature, drawn out and stuff. As I'm thinking, okay, here the police are about to put me up from off the ground and stuff like that. No, they take further action due to the fact that there's barely anybody around. The police brought their tasers. Continued to tase me while I'm on the ground, mind you. Kept going, and they all just gathered around, and they also got to smirking and laughing, things of that nature, basically. Typical, you know what I'm saying, running away slave type, plantation type.
Okay, that type of mentality.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they continued. One of the officers even I even got kicked in the stomach while I was even on the ground and stuff. They would have actually kept going until actually a neighbor just happened to step outside on his porch and stuff, and they turned around. Basically, they picked me up quick, you know. Never went back inside the house and stuff. Instead of like just taking me, pulling me in the car, my pants I fell down off me and stuff. I asked the police officer, "Can you please put my pants up and stuff?" They like, no, run them through the forget all that. It was like a bunch of branches like all around, trees and stuff. They basically, when my parents were down, they ran my I have scars like on my waist and stuff like that from them running, basically pushing me up against branches and stuff like that. Me scraping myself, and you know, it was a messed up situation basically. And they finally put my pants and put me back in the car and stuff. And we went to court on it, and in order for them, they dropped one when I got to court. Had my attorney present. When prosecutors looked at the evidence, they seen where The only fault I was at was running. Yes, you know. So I'll tell everybody, when you're under a situation, especially with the police, do not run. That's the worst thing you do. Do not run, because you're actually trying to escalate your matters worse with them. And the way, you know what I'm saying, these crooked police are nowadays, they'll try any kind of tactic to use against you and stuff like that. So do not run. Stay there. You know what I'm saying. Stand your ground. So when we got to court, the judge looked at the evidence and stuff. She she knew I had a warrant on me and stuff. Threw the warrant out and dropped all charges and stuff like that, because they were fearful of getting a lawsuit, because they know I told exactly what I had. In the exact report, I put everything verbatim what had happened and stuff like that. So to the family, when we seen this young man getting beat, when I came in, it was yesterday night. I seen the footage. I was sick. It put me in mind the flashbacks of how they like did me and stuff like that. So I was like, they're still continuing the nonsense out there. And so Euclid also has if you look more into a lot of their situations and stuff out there, Euclid keeps a lot of things hush hush. I didn't even know that it was a young man that was murdered like a few months back. I seen the mother.
Stewart.
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing about that. And like there's also been plenty of situations where the police have ran over innocent, you know what I'm saying, people and stuff, killing them and stuff like that, and chases, things of that nature and stuff. You know, it's a bunch of nonsense. Also, Euclid police, they're also known. That's where the one chief, you know, him and a few other police officers were out there. They were stopping young men, basically taking the drugs off of them, and resell them back on the streets and stuff. And the chief actually blew his brains out because he was trying to get indicted, you know. And before all this hit the Fed, you know, before everything came out and stuff like that, yeah, he killed himself. So yes, Euclid has a lot of corruption. I'm glad that it's starting a lot of leaders and stuff start to come out, and other foundations are starting to investigate Euclid, because it's been going around for years. It's like, I feel like they say Maple Heights is like labeled closer to like Gina 6. Nah, yeah, Maple has some issues and stuff though. Like Euclid, that's the new Gina 6 right there. What do you call it? Not Gina 6. When Mike Brown was murdered, Ferguson. They say they try to label. They say Maple Heights is something with like Ferguson. Nah, like I say, it has its issues though. Euclid would be labeled more like Ferguson than any other city, especially in Cleveland itself. So
I thank you for that, because now, looking at our time, I would like for you to please respond for a couple of minutes, and then let people know your contact.
Let me jump right into it first of all, because there's a lot to discuss here.
Yes,
first,
sir.
let me give you a little bit of a legal primer on excessive use of force. Excessive use of force is unconstitutional. It violates your Fourth Amendment right as it relates to a reasonable seizure. Okay, the legal standard that's supposed to be applicable regarding use of force used in an arrest situation, detention, or seizure of a person, there's supposed to be an objective standard of reasonableness. Okay, and that's important to understand what an objective standard is. It means that what I think, or what my own personal assessment is, should not matter if a reasonable person in my shoes would have done otherwise. And the reason that's important is because too often, you know, we know what the song from the police officers is, "Oh, I feared for my life, and, you know, I did what I had to do." So ultimately, we need to focus on, you know, what a reasonable person would have done in their shoes. In order to determine whether a use of force was objectively reasonable, the court is supposed to balance the person's Fourth Amendment interest against an unreasonable seizure, against the what they say is the government's interest, which would be affecting the arrest and the safety for themselves and any bystanders. Okay, so those are the types of factors that they're supposed to consider. And they're also supposed to look at the unique factual circumstances that gave rise to the use of force, such as the severity of the crime suspected, whether the suspect posed an immediate threat to the police officers or bystanders, and whether the suspect is actively resisting arrest or attempting to flee from custody. Now, nevertheless, having said all of that, The use of force of someone who is incapacitated, compliant, or otherwise poses no threat is excessive and it violates their rights. And I want to say all of that first only because it doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter if you ran. At the time when they caught up to you and you were compliant and you were no longer attempting to flee and you were no longer resistant, it is unconstitutional per the precedents of the United States Supreme Court for them to use force upon you at that time. And now let me move on to the next segment. Okay, the city of Euclid, they ought to be very afraid right now. Okay, because we got Richard Hubbard, who was beaten yesterday. We got another individual who was shot the day before. We don't know what that circumstance is. And of course, we got Luke Stewart, who was gunned down illegally in violation of the Euclid police's own protocols when they jumped in his car and shot him from inside of the car. Now, I don't want to get too much into the this particular facts there. Because they're currently being litigated, but it's my opinion and my strong conviction that that was improper. Now let me tell you why the city of Euclid is in trouble. Because the statute that you bring these types of claims against state actors is 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. They call them 83 cases, okay? Where basically this statute penalizes any person who acts under color of law to deprive U.S. citizens of any of their rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution or other laws. And now let me explain something, right? It doesn't only hold, I'm going to wrap it up real quick. It doesn't only hold the actors involved, but it also holds the municipality involved if it can be shown that they have a pattern, practice, or custom of violating the rights, if they've ratified these constitutional violations, or if they failed to train, supervise their personnel. And based on everything that you've told me, based on everything that we've seen, based on everything that we know on the ground, it appears to me that they definitely have this pattern in practice. And let me just say that they ought to be fearful, because I believe there's much liability. And again, my name is Christopher McNeil. I am a civil rights attorney and criminal defense lawyer. I work at Forbes Fields and Associates, which is George Forbes' law firm. And if you want to contact me regarding any matter, whether it's criminal, whether it's family, whether it's civil rights, or if you want to get more information about Black Lives Matter and how you can get involved, my phone number is 216-696-7170. Thank you very much.
No problem. We're putting in this last phone caller for Fast Talk. What's going on?
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, Brother Porter. This is Josephine Smith. I hope you all are doing well. In the short period when July 31st segued into August 1st of 2017. And I was absolutely just approached for no reason at all. And I would even go as far as saying pounced upon, because that's how it felt when 8 white officers, 1 female, just rolled up on me for absolutely no reason other than the fact that I have made my voice heard about matters that I've spoken about on this show and on your show about Target Store's ongoing and very sick, twisted, demented pattern of harassment and character assassination, just to name a few, against me. They are definitely involved in this. As I mentioned, I had litigated against them briefly in court. There was some insidious things involved some time ago, although statutes are sometimes extended, of course, in matters where there are extenuating circumstances such as mine. And
Thank
these
you
8 officers had absolute...
very much. Can you give that phone number one more time for you?
The phone number is 2...